Welcome to all my academic fraternity. In this video, I'll talk about the plant taxonomy and its brief introduction and its applications in plant sciences. So first let me to explain you what exactly the plant kingdom is and why the study of plant taxonomy is so important today in the field of research and academic adventure. Now, you all know that the plant taxonomy basically deals with the three basic issues: identification of plant, its nomenclature, along with the classification. But if you pay a glance to the plant diversity, starting from unicellular to multicellular complex plant in general and angiosperms in particular, there is a gradual evolution in the structure and functional aspect as far as the complexity is concerned. So, the plant which are distributed in the different habitat like the dry desert tundra to the Arctic zone, and for its adaptation in the different conditions, for being a cosmopolitan in distribution, it needs a different kind of the adaptive features which are found to occur from time to time if you want to explore the different kind of plants starting from unicellular to the multicellular one. If we access the diversity, especially the hard plant is concerned, then mosses and liverworts comprises of 15,000 species. Ferns and their allies, basically those are pterophytes, they are near about 10,000. The number of gymnosperms is a little bit less, which is less than 1,000 species, and the angiosperms comprising of monocot and dicot. It is consisting of more than 3,70,000 species, and the number is increasing day to day. Now, the assessment of the plant in a scientific tone is very important to address the different kind of the needs, not for today, but since the time immemorial, when the agrarian civilization started and the domestication of crops of different plants along with the animals have been taken into account. So, since 10,000 years back till 21st century of second decade, the basic plant structural and functional attributes remains almost same, but the usage of the plants in the different domains have been changed from time to time corresponding with change of the science and technological advancement, and with the passage of the time the usage of the plants are being recommended for different type of the purposes. So identification of the plant is very important in order to identify the particular plants which is used for particular purposes. And this domain or the discipline has not been started just 1 year or 100 years or something like that. Rather, the identification of the plant along with the classification have been started before Christ, and Theophrastus, who is called the father of botany, who first laid the foundation of this science. Later on, the different knowledge comes into the field, but in the middle of the 18th century, Swedish naturalist Carolus Linnaeus, who is also regarded as father of modern botany, first took an attempt to identify the plants and the animals in a very precise forms, and rather we can consider the Linnaeus was the father who first tried to explain and to analyze the plants as far as the nomenclature and the classification of the plants is concerned. in his book, that is Systema Naturae. Then in the 19th century, A.P. de Candolle published another epic work for plant identification, which is known as Theoria Elementaria della Botanica, and thereafter a number of publications has come into the limelight in order to assess the plant diversity. But there is a very two important terminology that should be kept in mind. One is taxonomy and the systematics. Our taxonomy basically deals with the description, identification and classification along with the naming of plants, but in systematics, the study of the description of the various organisms in order to formulate a classification systems is generally addressed. So, the plant taxonomy can be summarized under four subheadings as far as the different phases of the taxonomic exploration is concerned. The first one, that is pioneer or alpha phase, where the exploration and discovery of the new plants was taken into account. Then come to the second phase, that is called consolidation phase. Here the large amount of data followed by the plant exploration were organized to understand the classification. The third one, that is the synthesis. After the explorations of the data, then the consolidation of the data with adequate plant material that have been collected during this journey on the basis of morphological characters are taken into account, and in the experimental, that means the last phase, which is the scientific modern tool of plant sciences, where the vast amount of the collected data are being interpreted to make a clear-cut view as far as the evolution or phylogenetic point of view. So, these four phases, that means the first one I told you, pioneer or alpha phase, consolidation phase, followed by synthesis phase and experimental phase. These four phases are followed one after another in order to assess the plant sciences, and these are very important as far as the plant taxonomy is concerned. Now, the plant taxonomy, like other sciences, also have some definite objectives. Now, what are the objectives? First one, it's provide a convenient method for the identification and communication. Listen until we identify the plant, and we cannot be able to communicate to the stakeholders. It produces a coherent and universal system of classification. It provides the single Latin scientific name, basically comprising of binomial system, in order to give a specific name to every plant along with the animals, either it is a living or fossilized. Then to maintain a inventory of the world flora for further research and development, and last but not least, to demonstrate the evolution implications of the plant diversity because of its general appetite to know that which plants have been evolved in the planet first, which plants is followed by this plants and so on. So, the predecessor-successor relationship is very important in this particular aspect. Now, let me to take you to the four important steps in the plant taxonomy. So, whether you can identify any plant or you go for classification of those identified plant or giving any definite name to the plant, you first go for characterization. That means the plants must have certain characters, and mostly in the very fundamental or in very juvenile stages of plant taxonomy, the morphological characters have been taken into account and they are given top priority. And during this time, the characters of the organisms in general and plants in particular is very taken interest. Then, on the basis of the similarity and dissimilarity, the identification of those characters are taken into account to make certain homogeneous groups. Then it is followed by the classification, and ultimately uh, the names should be given in these particular aspects. After this uh, identification, you can see that these characterizations have been taken under different dimensions, and these dimensions have to be categorically studied under 4 headings. One is alpha taxonomy, beta taxonomy, gamma taxonomy, and omega taxonomy. Now you may ask, what are the basic difference among these 4 taxonomical approach? In the alpha system of classification or alpha taxonomy, the identification and characterization of the plant is being done on the basis of the morphological characters. You know what is morphological character? Morphological characters means those characters which are either mostly macroscopic characters, some microscopic characters like root, stem, leaf, flower, inflorescence, etc., etc. Those characters are taken into account, and after this consideration of these characters, on the basis of the linear taxonomy, the binomial nomenclature is being done, and then the person who has authority is have the pleasure to publish it. And here the all kinds of the issues of the plant identification and nomenclature is being done basically on the morphological point of view, and that is the thrust area of the alpha taxonomy. But when it is a matter of beta taxonomy, here the species and its placement is basically done on the basis of the natural system of hierarchical categories. That means the common structurals and numerous features are easily observable, and this is become the source for the identification of the plants, and followed by the classification, which is called the natural system of classification, that you will find to occur as far as the most convenient system of classification, which is called Bentham and Hooker system of classification in this particular aspects. Now the third one, that is called the gamma taxonomy. In the gamma taxonomy, not only the species, rather interspecific variability and the study of evolution is given much more emphasis. And here the attention is paid to the casual interpretation of the organic diversity and the study of the speciation. That means how the formation of the species has been taken into account. That is also addressed in the gamma taxonomy. But in omega taxonomy, which ultimately the perfect system that makes all the issues under a single umbrella and to take the taxonomy as in a very real sense. Now, as far as the identification is concerned, the different characters are being done and chosen, and here the 4 important attributes are taken into account in the identification. First one, the similarities and difference between the 2 specimens or a number of specimens that have been taken into account during these taxonomic studies are taken into account, and followed by the direct comparison of the features of the specimen in hand whose keys in order to arrive at a time, then the unidentified taxon to a correct class in an established system of classification, and followed by the determination of name of a particular specimen related to an established system of classification mostly done. And here identification, although morphological characters are taken into account, but here in addition to the morphological character, the phytochemical character, which is phytochemistry, cytological data, pollen grain study, that is the study of palynology, and the modern field of molecular biology, like the different omics biology data, particularly the transcriptomics, proteomics, genomics, etc., etc. And these data are basically extracted through molecular analysis, are being involved in the identification of this particular point. In the nomenclature, it is very simple. Still, it is still in practice as since the time of the Carolus Linnaeus introductions of the binomial nomenclature, and here the plant definitely have some vernacular or common name as far as its geographical location is concerned, but the plant must have some holistic name that can be accessed by all corners irrespective of the language, caste, race, and so on. So here the nomenclature is basically done basically on the line of the Carolus lineage, but to make it holistic and its feel universally, uh, international body has been formed, which is known as ICBN, International Code of the Botanical Nomenclature. And as far as Carolus Linnaeus and his first publication, Species Plantarum, any plant or animal or any organisms must have scientific name that comprises two parts. The first part is called generic part, and the second part or last part is specific epithet, and the generic name and specific epithet to be followed by an name of the author, that means author citation, which basically written in a very acronyms. Say for example, if you talk about the rice, its scientific name is Oryza sativa. L, Oryza is the generic name, sativa is the specific name. L comes from Carolus Linnaeus, who first introduced these particular systems. And after the nomenclature, then comes the classification, and as far as the classification is concerned, there is an evolution of the classification, the uh, and classification approach mostly of the four types, that is artificial or sexual system of classification, then it is then followed by the natural system of classification, then comes the phylogenetic system of classification, and last phonetic. And in uh, artificial or sexual systems, only significant number of characters are taken into account, and that mainly highlighted by Carolus Linnaeus. So it is also called Linnean system of or sexual system of classification. Then it is followed by the natural system, where consideration of all the natural characters starting from root to fruit, means as many as number of the natural characters are observable, they are taken into account for the classification. A number of natural classification are available in the domains of plant taxonomy, but the most important one is George Bentham and Joseph Dalton-Hooker's classification, which is popularly called Bentham-Hooker system of classification. It has a number of demerits, although it contains much more merits, and as far as practical utility is still in most of the universities of Indian and other, the Bentham and Hooker system of classification is mainly used for classification of the different kind of the plants. And the third one, and that is phylogenetic, because whenever we talk about natural or artificial system of classification, you don't know about the phylogeny. So it is a common urge or interest to know the successor and predecessor relationship of the diverse kind of the plants which are found to occur in this particular context. So we have to take an interest to find out that which one are the predecessor and which is the successor, and that is called phylogeny, means evolution history. And here the natural characters are mostly taken into account, followed by certain evolutionary lines, and number of classification has been made to establish the predecessor successor relationship as far as the phylogeny is concerned. And number of classification are available, like Youngler and Prandtl systems, that means Hutchinson system, the Kazan system, Paces system, Tipu system, etc., etc. And the last but not least, that is the phonetic systems that consider the use of the natural orders, that means the taxa, that is called what I mean the operational taxonomic unit or OTU, that lay the foundation of the numerical taxonomy. And here the groups are used as the phenons, and the system is established to form phonetic systems of classification, to make an phenogram or called dendrogram, to make an what I mean the tree of evolution of the entire plant kingdom. Recently, from 1998, another system of classification has come in the plant taxonomy domain, which is called APG. And APG have four successive editions, like APG1, APG2, APG3, APG4. And this APG system, or angiosperm phylogeny group, is a non-formal system of the classification that basically comprising of the contribution of the different plant taxonomists around the world. And here the plants have been assessed and has been evaluated on the basis of the evolutionary point of view, considering the relationship among them, not only on morphological or natural characters, rather with the help of the different kind of characters taken from the biomolecular data. And now this is to be treated the most advanced system of the classification as far as the phylogeny point. But still there are a lot of debates in this regard as far as the system of classification, and you will find in the different countries that different kind of the classifications are still now in progress, uh, that has been found, which is very convenient in their uh, academic domains and research in the field. So that's the basic idea about the plant taxonomy. I again repeat, plant taxonomy basically comprising of these features of first identification, followed by its naming or nomenclature, then come to classification, and obviously there is an urge of documentation to be also to be done. So any plant which is to be explored irrespective of the domains, it may be in the Amazon rainforest, or it may be in the Arctic zone, or it may be in the deep peninsula of Alps, or anything else irrespective of the geography or geology, anything else, the plant must be explored to be identified, should be given a particular definite name so as to, and obviously there is a definite system of the classification so as to any people of the earth irrespective of their need either to pursue academic research or to address socio-economic needs, the plant can be easily identified and to be used for their different purposes. So I think you can understand all this basic idea of the plant taxonomy. In the next lecture we will continue another issue, and that is the another important parts of the plant taxonomy. Thank you very much for listening me, and wish your participation in the next lecture. Thank you once again on behalf of my site.